pulling what they call pull the paint. You pull the paint, you take a thin paint, you give it a little, and it looks like the side of a building. So it's much easier to deal with. And then this area here, you separate so that this white makes a movement here, but separates from the edge there. So there's where the brush comes in. Where'd you go, little brush? Thank you, little brush. Oh, that's mine. How did I get my own brush? So I want to put just a little jump right here, which is very myopic, but to me it's very important because it makes this white slide under. And then I'll pull this just over the edge here and over the edge here so that this isn't always on top. So those little areas, the eye picks up on them real quick. Now this is an insane palette, but it works. Your natural palette is the one you tend to work with most of the time. I force myself to work with palettes like this all the time so that in case I have an emotional sense that I'm trying to abstract from, I can use the colors. My natural palette is violets, greens, and blues. That's the one I use over and over and over. In fact, if you looked at a majority of my work, you will see those colors. And I use red as an accent mostly. But you don't want to sit with comfort. If you want to be a painter of any value, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to feel your bones hurt a little bit. And be just a little nervous about what might happen. That gives you growth. Now, you may do a dozen really bad paintings, which I say sell right away. And when you get the good one, frame it and keep it. Because that's the one you show. Because look, you're not any longer painting to change the world. You're painting to allow yourself to be exposed to the world and to those who are sensitive enough to attach themselves to what you're giving them. That's who you're for now. This is a different world we live in. You don't get somebody out here, like when I was a student, I keep saying that, but it was true. Stood in Studio 14, that's where we painted. The galleries would come right in the studio in Vegas for our work. Not today. Today, they don't even know who the hell you are. Unless you put a banana on your head, you got nothing.
But they go to some of the, master's programs like at Columbia and
Yes.
Yale. They do that.
Yes. I love those programs. They can confuse art so quick. Universities are valuable and important if you want to get depth of understanding about certain painters, certain techniques, certain periods, because they have an extended library that you can enter, and scholars on around it will feed you information. But when it comes to paint a painting, I find most of them in here. I've got students from Yale, from Harvard, from Stanford, from Princeton who were painters, and they went through their art class and said, it was all well and good, but I can't paint. And I had to send them to a drawing class. This institution that you're sitting in, its real value is it forces you to live with craft, to understand that what you do is valuable, that you just don't whack it off and hope for the best. You have to know how you're applying your paint, what mediums are you using, what surfaces are you going to develop, how are you going to find the identity you're searching for, what path are you going to take. This all comes out of this building. It hasn't changed. Everything else has changed, but not this. This is the spirit of this school, and I remember talking to Mr. Rip at after I bought him a bottle of scotch. Got a little loose, you know. I said, this building is for a cab driver that one day parks his car, looks over there and says, gee, I want to learn how to draw. And he can walk in here, and if he puts in the time, he'll walk out an artist. He'll walk out knowing how to paint. He'll know how to weld, how to carve, whatever his desire is. This is the only school that does that. He didn't have to come in here with a portfolio and read a book. He may not even be able to read it all, but he can draw. That's what makes this place special. All this nonsense about young people, old people. Hey, listen, there is no age for art. Art is for everyone. It's about growth. When you're ready, you grow. When you're not ready, you don't. Simple. So I buy only one thing, the freedom and the spirit of this place, and I protect it with everything I have. The rest of it can do whatever the hell they want. They can put velvet in the hall, I could care less. The artists that want to learn and are evolving are the most important people, as far as I'm concerned, in the entire society, because they're the ones that make change over time. You don't have to take my word for it. Read art history. That's why all these classes are important. So I get bugged every once in a while when people start talking nonsense. So anyway, let me get back to the scribble. And you're not too sure. Everything you're doing now is a gamble.
It's a reality show, you know? Can you think that?
Gamble at what you might end up with. And while you're doing it, you say a little prayer. You asked your spirit angels to come and whisper. Don't touch that. I'm loving it. This is my favorite area of the whole thing. Now, that's starting to feel like a pain. Now I kind of feel it kind of starting to breathe a little bit. So I'm not as unhappy as I was 10 minutes ago. So I'll knock this down just a little bit more. Bring out some things. Shake that up. Yes, there it is. You really better see it. I knew you were hiding. And I didn't need it. Now I'm deconstructing this whole area. Oh, I like that word, isn't it? Deconstructing. It sounds so fancy. Break through the double parallel. Just a little bit more. Make that corner interesting. And next thing you know, you got a damn painting over there. Now the important thing at this stage is, where do I sign it? Knock down too much excitement against all the energy. Now this is a dry brush, basically. What I'm doing is I'm clipping and using the loose paint and letting it play a little bit against the other colors so that it helps to unify the piece. So you don't always load up to make things work. Sometimes I actually work with spider. Oh my God, I saw that. Oh, that dirty one. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to delicately pull up planes. I can adjust, but I can't change too much. Now, every time I pull some of the, what we used to call stealing the ground, and that's bringing the surface white up and changing its position, I also change the relationship with everything else, so that everything seems to start to make a little more sense, in spite of me. Now, broken color, which is what I'm doing now, that's the term, is a device picked up from the Persians. That's what they did when they, that was a way of pulling color into color without changing the color. Change the objects, not the color. Okay, see now, unless you guys know everything, we will try to get rid of this sucker. We are. And that's starting to look like a painting somewhat. What do you think? Don't take my word for it. Remember the bias, you know. I think that pretty much kills it, I'm thinking. That orange. Just tap it in, tap it in, tap it in. Overlap here, underneath there. Okay. And there's an example of personal identity in a painting developed to a spatial unity that belongs to me. Nobody else. And each one of you does something different. Don't give me bad and good and I don't know. If the next person tells me I don't know, I'm gonna hand them the ticket and they get the hell out of here.
You know who you are.
Well, that's a signature.
There you go.